Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. So, if you can hear the fans on in the background, there's been big things going on in the workshop lately. But I wanted to stop and take the time, considerable time, to do a video about chroming. I just did a video about my chroming process for photo etch metal parts, and while thorough, it didn't really address rechroming kit parts that have been chromed by the manufacturer. So, I'm going to first start off by saying, why would you want to strip the chrome that the manufacturer provides and then replace it with something else? There's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is that kit manufacturer chrome kinda looks toyish. It's a process that is, I guess, most cost effective, and while producing an okay result. Then kit chrome is okay. It's just it could look a little better. The second main reason is that the mold lines, any sink marks, any type of imperfection that's in the plastic when they chrome is going to be in the chrome plated part. And when you're trying to up the standard of the models that you build, you're going to want to get rid of those. You have mold separation lines, you might have a sink mark, you might have like one of the parts of one of the processes in putting kit chrome on is that it's given a clear coat. Sometimes that bubbles up on the corners. It's not, like they don't, not to knock the manufacturers, but the manufacturers don't take the painstaking steps in parts preparation that we do. So you might have bunching up of the clear in the corners of your bumpers, for example. So what a lot of modelers do, myself included, we take the kit parts off the sprue and we dip them into the purple pond, as it's called. That's the deep purple degreaser that it strips chrome off of parts really quick. You could also use bleach. It's a little less healthy for you, breathing the fumes in from that. Any material that would strip kit chrome is not really the best for you, so just try to use precautions like wearing rubber gloves or trying not to breathe in the fumes. I'm not even going to go over stripping the chrome, because it's literally just taking like a little Tupperware or something that you're not going to use for food ever again, putting the parts in. And if you leave if you don't put a lid over it, as you're dipping the parts in, by the time you get to the last part, the first parts are already probably clear of all the kit chrome. So once you've done that, I would recommend washing and cleaning your parts to get the purple stuff off. Because it is caustic, it could irritate the skin on your hands by handling it. So be careful. Wear gloves, but wash it anyway. Okay? Don't fight me on everything. The next part in the process would be parts cleanup. So I'm gonna put you up there, but first I'm gonna talk about some of the other methods that people use when they're handling the parts that are going to be chromed in their model cars. I understand that there are a lot of products out there. I've owned almost every single one of them. I have a specific technique that I used, which is going to be the main part of this video, and I appreciate if you have a technique that you use, which is great. I look forward to seeing your video. But I'm gonna have to insist that my social media rule apply, because when I do videos like this, I very frequently get responses where it's patently obvious you didn't watch the video. You read the title, maybe the first 15-20 seconds, and you head straight for the comments to tell me about how you have the better way of doing it. And then when that happens, what I tend to do is I click on your name and I look and I see this person has no content. Okay. And then maybe if you use your real name, I'll look on the modeling groups and see if you've ever posted your work, and then I take your advice with that big giant grain of salt. I mean, no offense, but I'm not gonna reply to you if you can't even make it this far into the video before hopping down below and having something to say. So, I have tried the Rust-Oleum can. It's not the same. I have tried Green Stuff World. It's okay. It's buffable. I have tried All Clad. It's okay. Can produce really good results, but it's not really resilient. It is buffable, but you also will remove it back down to the base coat of gloss black, which we're going to get to. I have tried Extreme, AK Extreme Metal Chrome. It's okay. It's buffable, but it doesn't have the pop that a chrome should have. It's like a really good, like if you polished a P51 Mustang, that would be a good application for that paint. I've tried MRP Chrome. Model Master Metallizer never made a chrome as it were. Not in the Metallizer series. There was the silver chrome trim enamel that probably anybody who's applied that, it's probably still wet. You know, if you put that on 30 years ago, you still can't go near it. What I'm going to try to provide for you is a attractive, largely resilient, and a product that will provide, and a process that will provide what, and it's a word I use a lot, but the verisimilitude. It's the appearance of reality without being reality. There was an option years ago of having your parts, cleaning them up, taking out your mold lines, putting them on fixtures, and sending them to Chrome Tech USA. A gentleman named Bob. Bob retired, and nobody's really filled the void. So, with that being the case, I mean, if Bob was still around, I would be using him. I'd be recommending that you use him because the work that he did was phenomenal. So we're stuck in a situation where we don't have a lot of options. Now, one of the most recent options that people really, really like is this, the Revell Chrome Spray. It's good stuff. It really is good stuff. I've just recently used it on the 71 Mustang Mach 1 that I'm using. I like the results, and I'm going to show you the results. It's, you know, it might be something that I alternate between with my process, but let me just show you what I do. So just hop up there and I'll show you. All right? Good. Okay, first up to bat is going to be what I clean the parts in, and this is the product that I use. Super clean in a purple jug. This is a 1 gallon container. If all you use it for is dechroming parts, this 1 gallon container would probably last you several lifetimes. I just filled this up because I cleaned it yesterday, I dechromed probably 30 models chrome in one of these containers, and the only reason why I cleaned it out was because yesterday when I dechromed these parts, it gets like a little bit of a residue inside of there. It gets a little skanky, so I just, I dumped it out in my slop sink and cleaned the container. And this quantity right here of super clean is probably going to last me another 30, 40 until I don't like looking at it being scuzzy inside anymore. But it'll still work. It'll still work perfectly. So the 1 gallon of degreaser, if you just use it for dechroming parts, will last a lifetime. If you use like lawn furniture paint to paint your model cars, that 1 gallon will probably last you, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. I kid. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I know you never had a problem, but I'm in a bit of a breaking chops mood today. So, what processes do I use? First off, here are my parts that I stripped yesterday. These are from a Revell 1966 Impala SS, which is a beautiful kit. The 65 and 66 Impalas. The 65 came in a hardtop and a convertible, and the 66 came in a hardtop. They've been reboxed. Most recently, the 66 has been out. The 65 is now available as a foose. This is all besides the point. I'm just rambling. But I dipped these in the super clean yesterday. So I just took the parts off the sprue, dropped them in. The first to go in was this grill. The last to go in, I think, was one of the, and I'm not going to show like the windshield wipers, door handles, and all the other stuff. But by the time I got to the last part that was going to be dechromed, the grill was already stripped. So when you strip the chrome off of these parts, you'll start to notice that there is yellowing. You'll see like a yellow residue. That's actually the clear lacquer. I think it's a lacquer. I don't know what it is, but it's a clear that goes on over the plastic parts from the kit manufacturers when they're gonna plate the parts. So it does tend to blob up and build up in these areas. So, and it's also coincidentally where the mold separation lines are. So if you clean up these areas and then mount them onto fixtures, I use the wooden stick from these cotton swabs that I use. I cut the head off after I'm done, and I just use the stick. Mounted with, where did I put you? The poster putty, 3M poster putty. Mount them on a stick. For these little spinners that go on the wheel, anything where you have something that can grip that's going to be glued in and won't show, then I'll use a pair of self-locking tweezers to hold on to them for that part, for that process. Smaller parts that don't really lend themselves to the larger stick, I'll just use a toothpick with the poster putty. The wheels, these are really nice wheels, and with the spinners, I'm gonna have a feature build coming up of a 66 Impala that I did. Came out beautiful, and that was I did dechrome and rechrome on that kit. You'll see that should be coming out in the next few days. I said that I was going to show you what results I got with the Revell chrome spray, and here we go. So this was done by stripping the chrome, priming, and then spraying on the Revell Chrome Spray. Here's one of the wheels. This is from the 71 Mach 1 that I'm building. It's a very, very, very nice, high quality shine. Metallic appearing without being toy-like. And I actually like it. I think it looks good. I think for replicating chrome, actual chrome, this is a really good method. And if you don't have an airbrush, then you know this would probably be the way to go. But this is going to be a segue for me into priming. Okay, so let me just put these down. Now, the age-old question that you hear a lot in scale modeling, and particularly, well, scale modeling in general, it's not endemic to just model cars. Should you prime? That's a question that's asked and answered by another question. And my response to that is, what do you want to achieve? So, do you want to just skip it because you don't feel like doing it or having the extra expense of buying a primer? Then by all means, just paint. But understand that you might not get the best results that you can. Paint in general, particularly automotive paint in the real world, and it carries over to a great extent in the modeling world. Paint is like an edifice. It's like a building. And primer is a very important part of the foundation of a good look. The first step in building that foundation is having a good substrate, a good hole in the ground, basically, that you're going to pour the concrete in and build your foundation to really super strain that metaphor. But if you prepare the parts like I have by removing the bulging clear coat, removing the mold separation lines, it's very rare that you'll have visible ejector pin marks on the outside. They might be on the inside, but you could always just black this part out, because unless you're going to really detail it. But the foundation is parts preparation. So preparing the parts is, like I said, removing the mold separation lines, cleaning up imperfections that are going to be visible. Then, over that, your next step would be a priming step, because when you prime, you're giving something to your color and clear coats. If you're going to use them, you're giving them something to chemically adhere to and even mechanically adhere to. For the most part, I generally, when I'm building a model car on the body, when I prime, I'll use a different primer. But for all other things that I build, such as engines, interiors, chrome parts, and stuff like that, I prime with the Mr. Hobby finishing surfacer system. Now, the way it's set up, it's numbered, and the number generally refers to almost like a grit. So like if you have, and you'll see this a lot, like on Tamiya primer, it says fine surface primer. What they mean by fine is kind of like the sandpaper that you'll need to sand it once you've primed it. So, and this is kind of similar. The Mr. Surfacer process is similar. It comes in a lot of colors, and it basically starts as like there's 500, 1000, and 1500. So Mr. Surfacer 500 would be your high build primer. it has it will dry, and you'll absolutely need to sand it. Next up from there would be 1000, where, and also you should know that you're also, like, there might be situations where you want a little bit of that texture, and there's one specifically. Let me get to that in a second. All right, so I don't have any Mr. Surfacer 500 on hand, otherwise I'd show it to you. I ran out of it because there was something, I think I was building a tank, and I used it to texture the turret, and I because I'm a goofball, I left the cap off, and it got really, like, super hard. I know. Nobody knows I'm an idiot more than I do. So the next step up from that would be Mr. Surfacer 1000. Now this is airbrushable. I use Mr. Color leveling thinner to thin these. They work really, really well. So now if you were using Mr. Surfacer 1000 in this gray, it's assumed that, like, you might be wanting to unify a surface that may have light scratch marks from body prep or surface prep. And that's what this does. It unifies and makes it, and then where you only have to do light sanding afterwards. Also in the 1000 is Mr. Mahogany Surfacer. This is a brown primer. And you might be thinking to yourself, what would you want to? Believe it or not, if you say you're building a rusted out car, this is a great primer to use. Think about it, because if you use chipping fluid, you can then, or you could even lightly sand back to this prime, and it looks a lot like surface rust. And then it's one of the effects that you could use. So this is very, very useful stuff. Really useful. It also, the color of the primer that you use could also, and not could, it's going to influence your final colors. So it's a consideration that you have to make. Which brings us to the 1500 series. So the ones that I have, they might have more. I think they do have more colors, actually. I think they have the red primer also. I don't know. We'll look. We'll see. 1500 white. So now this, when you spray this on, it leaves the smoothest surface. You could theoretically just give this, the once over, make sure you got no dust in it, and apply your color on top. Also comes in gray. It also comes in black. You may have heard of a process known as black basing. This is what I use for black basing, and believe it or not, most of the parts in the model cars that I build are primed with this color, because you're imparting shadows. You can adjust your spray technique when you're adding color coats, so that this kind of builds shadows for you. And if you're painting a metallic color, of which chrome is, it's good to start. It's good to start here. Like, if you lay down Mr. Finishing Surface of 1500 black and then spray your metallizing colors on top of it, it's also, believe it or not, this is a good one also, especially like a muffler that's gonna rust out or something like that. So it's a consideration. I buy a lot of stuff because I have the patience, maturity, and impulse control of a 4-year-old child who's been given a quadruple shot of espresso. Anyway, finally this. Pink. Why would you want a pink primer? Well, if you paint in red, that's a good one. Believe it or not, if you're painting yellow, pink is a good primer. It actually helps. You'll put fewer coats on. That was a tip that I got from a guy who was building a bunch of trainer aircraft from World War II that had like yellow tails. He was building an entire squadron of them. And somebody was like, why are you painting pink on there? And this was before this product came out. He was painting Tamiya pink. And he goes, the best base coat for yellow is actually pink. And I tried it. It actually worked pretty well. Because yellow has that tendency to like pull away from corners and pull away from panel lines. This actually helps prevent that. I don't know what it is about it, but it helps. So something to keep in mind. So the next step that we're going to do, we're going to go over to my funny spot, which is over by the spray booth, and we're going to put on some Mr. Finishing Surface of 1500 black. And that's going to be the first step in the painting process. Okay? Now, the actual product that I use for chroming, and if you saw my chroming video on photo etch parts, it's this. It's Gaia Notes Premium Series 8 Premium Mirror Chrome. And I told you in that video that this stuff is expensive. And it is. But it goes a long way. It goes a very long way. I could probably very easily get... I actually, with this bottle, I think this is my second bottle. And I think I'm up to 11 cars. And I am going to paint the rest of the off-camera, not part of this video. So I'll probably get 12, and I still have enough left in there. I have a pretty fair amount in there. And it's still... So maybe I'll get to 15 out of that. So for $30, you're talking about adding $2 to the price of your model. Okay, so as far as the Revell, some people say you can just spray it on without chrome, without primer. Okay, you could try it if you want. This stuff is expensive too. I just, in general, I prime, and I think I tried to demonstrate why I prime. So, but you're welcome to try whatever you think is going to work best for you, or build to whatever standard that you want to build to, whatever's going to make you happy. All right, so I'm going to get you set up over there. And then we'll put some of the surfacer on there. Okay? Hold on. Okay, so we're over at the spray booth. I turned the fan off because it blew out the fumes that I needed it to, but no. This way you can hear me. Somebody asked me, and it's worth showing you. How do you measure the paint in order to airbrush it? It's a good question. My method is to use a graduated medicine cup. These are available on Amazon. If you literally type in graduated medicine cup, they'll come up. It just means that they have on the side, they'll have hash marks for, and I use the milliliter measurements. So, and then I use a pipette, also available on Amazon. Still angry at testers because if you remember, they used to sell a package of these, 6 of them, carded for like $9. The nerve. You could get a bag of 1,000 of these for $9 on Amazon. That's why I stopped sending them Christmas cards. Testers. Just kidding. But it was that. I mean, that's gouging. What do you want me to tell you? So, when I mix the Mr. Finishing Surface of 1500 black, or any color that I'm going to be mixing with lacquer, I'll put the thinner in first. This way I don't waste the pipette, because because if you do the paint first, then you can't really put the pipette that's got the paint in. you're putting it into the thinner. Now, some people ask, can you mix in the airbrush? You can do whatever you want. It's your airbrush. Do whatever you want. If you know enough, you could just read off the side of the pipette, because they have measurements also. These are 3 milliliter pipettes, so you could do that also. It's not like a law. It's not like they're gonna come to your house and have a word. Who's they? So you could do it. It's just, I do it this way because this way I'll show you. There's a way I test for viscosity. I don't use the milk method because I find that capricious, arbitrary, and unscientific, but I understand like the reasoning behind it. You wanna, for best results, you wanna have consistency, and if to achieve consistency, you do something that you can measure. So that's why I do what I do. It's not, and like I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I don't judge people for the way that they build their models or they arrive at something. It's just, this is the way I do it, and this is why I do it. This isn't a challenge to a fight. You can take it or leave it, Yes, if you want, I'll give you your money back for what you paid to see this. So for this, I'm gonna fill this cup up to 2.5 milliliters. There we are, we're at 2.5 milliliters, which is not really a lot, but we don't really need a lot. And what's good about the cups that I'm using now is they're graduated at 2.5 milliliters, 5 milliliters, 7.5, which is good for when I do 2K clear, because my the 2K clear that I use from Splash Paints, and its ratio is 3 to 1, three parts clear to 1 part catalyst to a hardener. So when I'm doing that, 10 milliliters thinned is usually a good rule of thumb for me when I'm using Splash Paints to clear. So what I'll do is I'll fill up the cup with clear to 7.5 milliliters, then I'll add 2.5 milliliters of hardener, and then that mixture equals 10 milliliters, and then I'll add 5 milliliters of, because you don't really need to thin 2K clear that much, 5 milliliters of urethane grade lacquer thinner, which is also available from Splash Paints. And they are not a sponsor. I just love them. I give them a plug because I love them. I love you guys. Love you. I wish I could say they love me too, but they probably have no idea who I am. Try it. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I don't cry myself to sleep every night over it. So now we want to get this to 5 milliliters. Oh, we need a little more. Let's see if we can milk this cow. There we go. Maybe we'll get some more out of there. Did we get to 5? Yeah, we're at about 5. So, I'm not going to throw the pipette away just yet, because I'm going to use the pipette to transfer from the cup to the airbrush because it's cleaner, and I'm a klutz. If I went to pour this, I would try to put a crease in the cup and then make like a spout out of the crease. But these cups have a pretty substantial lip on them, and I don't want to crack the cup doing that. I used to get a brand where I could do that, and I can't find that brand anymore. Because the brands change on Amazon. It's the same manufacturer. It's just they change from Foofaloof to Shkoobelbop. You know what I mean? But it's the same product. Somebody's going to type Shkoobelbop down in the comments. Good. At least you made it this far. You're a lot better off than the guy who 7 seconds in put down, I just use Rust-Oleum. It's the best. Rust-Oleum. Okay, so viscosity test. I've done this before. What are you looking for in a viscosity test? Now, let's see. Watch the side of the cup right there as I pour it down. Notice how it's sticking to the side? That is a pretty good indication. Like if it just ran down without leaving a stain, it's too thin. If it totally blacked out the side of the, or it made the side of the cup opaque, might be a little bit too thick and you might need more thinner. But I made an airbrush series that shows you what you need to do in situations like this, and it's an entire playlist. But if you want to forego that, part 2 of the airbrushing series. Check it out, look it up, watch it, live it, love it, laugh it. So basic. Alright. Let me tell you, I'm in some mood today. Oh, pro tip, when you're using a pipette, never turn the pipette upside down. Because when you turn it right side up, stuff's going to shoot out of it. Ask me how I know. I know because I've done it before and it shot all over the place. So this should be enough to prime what we're about to prime. And again, reserve the pipette because you're going to need it. Because if you don't use all this paint, there's no sense wasting it. You could put with Mr. Surfacer. I'm not going to tell you to do it with other paints because I don't have experience with doing that. What's with the hand, Frank? With Mr. Surfacer, you can place pre-thin. I keep a separate bottle of it that's pre-thinned. But you could put it back in. It's just you gotta do like viscosity checks when you use it in the future. It stretches it out a little bit, less waste. You know, as you gain experience, you like these things. Like you can, like I said, you can mix in the airbrush. It's it's no big deal. There are people who can do it and do it pretty well. It's just I want to give you a foundation to work on. Primer, foundation. Let's get the fan on. I should be wearing a glove. I should just leave my gloves over here. They're over there. I don't know why. enough of this. Let me see. I'm gonna try to get you like in here close so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna also put a glove on. Hold on a second. I'm gonna try to do that. It's probably not gonna work, but I'm gonna try for you. Okay, we got the primer on. It went well. Comes out nice and smooth. It's actually like when you're building a model plane and you like you do the basic assemblies for a model plane. You get the fuselage together, you join it to the wings, and then you paint it. It's actually when you black base like and use the Mr. Surface of 1500 black, the planes look pretty cool when you do that. So if you ever build a model plane, I mean, maybe I'll build one on the channel. Let me know if you'd like to see that. I'm actually I'm a little bit better at building planes than I am at building cars, and that's to say I'm not really good at either. But that's neither here nor there. If you'd like to see my planes, you know what? I'll probably put my planes up at some point, do a featured build on it. But this actually looks pretty cool. Let's see if you can see that. And the next step in the process would be to add a gloss black base on top of it. So when I did the chroming video on the photo etch, I used this paint, which is Mr. Color, their GX series, which is, I think, directed more towards the Gundam pla model market, like the 1/144th scale robot suits. It's a little tough to come across this in the United States. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using Tamiya X1, their acrylic line gloss black. Now, X1 gloss black, it's an excellent paint. I wouldn't use this paint or the GX2 gloss black as like a finish for a body. It doesn't have the qualities that I look for. If I, like, for example, here is MCW Finishes 2000 black gloss lacquer. Now, if I'm painting a car black, any of the cars that you might see, like a lot of my cars are in the shorts, my videos, they're like a minute long. You can check them out. The Bullet Charger was painted with this. I have a 67 Impala sedan 4-door was painted with this, and I also have a 1967, I had it, they're all gone now, 1967 Chevelle SS that was painted with this. This would be my go-to for painting a body because it has a coverage and a texture characteristic that lends itself more towards a high gloss finish. These paints, the GX2 and Tamiya X1, are what I would consider like utility gloss paints, and by that I mean they're good for parts like a radiator shroud or something that needs to be gloss black in the interior. They don't lend themselves as well. I mean, you could definitely paint a car body with Tamiya X1 and polish it, and there might be more work involved. But for this purpose, I think it's an excellent choice. And because this one is more readily available than the GX2, that's the one that I'm going to use, because I'd actually like you folks to adopt. That's why I'm doing that, so you adopt the method, because if you could see that it's not that hard and it produces a good result, then, you know, you'll use it. Okay. Now, am I going to clean my airbrush? Because I got the Mr. Surfacer in there. Nah, just going to flush it. Flush it, clean it, do whatever I gotta do. I got a bucket right here that has a lot of paint. Like I'll spray it into there, and lacquer thinner evaporates very, very, very quickly, so you don't really have to worry too much. So in order to just flush it out, I'm using, even though that says Tamiya, it's not Tamiya lacquer thinner. This is just cheap hardware store, big box store lacquer thinner. I take a cotton swab. These are available on, you could use Q-tips, but they're more expensive. So what I do is I go on Amazon. I use a lot of products that dentists use because one of the guys I used to follow on Facebook, that I was in a group, he was a dentist from Australia, and he would like, you know, he'd show us the materials that he used to do stuff, and I followed along. I listened to him. It's good stuff. So in the long run, these swabs are actually pretty cheap. So I'm not going to chuck this because I could use this stick to mount parts to. So I set that to the side. And what I'm doing is, since I put the lacquer thinner in, I'm just running it around the sides to loosen the paint that's in there and try to agitate it so that it falls out. So now I'm going to take this thinner out, put it into this pail, and you'd be surprised how quickly that evaporates. It's not a lot. It's like less than a teaspoon. It's what, maybe 2.5 milliliters. So make sure you don't have any dirty thinner in your pipette before you put it back in here. Not that, well, this is utility anyway, so it's not a big deal. Then I'll fill it again. Now a lot of people like to backwash. Backwashing an airbrush is when you block off the nozzle end, which is hard to do when you have the crown on, but you block off where it would spray out and you hit the air and it like back pressures and bubbles in here. And what you're really doing is agitating the paint that's in there off of the surfaces of the inside of the airbrush so that you can then remove it. The thing is, I don't do that for a couple of reasons. Not that there's anything bad with it, but from my experience, what has happened to me in the past when I've backwashed is I've actually managed to get paint up and past the needle packing that's in this area of the airbrush right here, and then it could get into this area, and once it gets into this area, it could go down into this area where you're then going to have a problem. All of which I teach you how to solve in my airbrush video series. But that's why I don't backwash. Is it backwash? Backflow? Huh? You know what I mean. It's been around. But I do have one of these. This is a spray out pot. So, and since I'm basically going from one color to another, you don't have to go crazy. If you... Ooh, I should probably turn the fan on. See those fumes shooting out? So since you're going from black to black, it's not really going to make a difference, but when I'm using my airbrush, what I will do is clean my airbrush after every painting session or day of painting, for sure. I mean, every time I use the airbrush, when I'm done, it's going to get painted. But if throughout the day, I'll try to paint the lightest colors first. then move to the darkest colors and then just flush it out between doing this. Still more. If I change types of paints, like if I go from an acrylic to an enamel, or an enamel to an acrylic, which is very rare, but I'll do it anyway. I'll clean it. If I go from a metallic to anything, once you put metallics in your airbrush, you should do a pretty thorough clean, because the flake will get in there, and you spray anything else, you're gonna have flake in your paint. So I also did a video on cleaning your airbrush. It's part of a series. There's actually a playlist. Look for it. It's like wallowing at 100 views, and it's good information. Let me do a little more spritz. One more little bit of spritz through with the lacquer thinner. See, like you see, I'm not putting a lot of thinner in to flush it. These are good. I rarely, if ever, it has a filter in it, you rarely have to really dump it. That takes a while to fill up. And not for nothing, it probably evaporates. This is just so you're not putting it all into the atmosphere at once. But if you, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but there's like a little vent right here, and fumes come out of it. So the exhaust fan sucks it right through. Okay, so on the review of what I'm about to say about spray booths and the dangers involved, potential dangers involved with them, it has been expressed to me by legal counsel that I might not have made a direct enough disclaimer that I am not a fire safety expert. I am not a expert on the potential for explosions, and I'm an idiot. So take what I'm about to say about exhaust fans and spray booths with a big grain of salt, but like, you know, if you take free advice from idiots, you paid the right price for it, and you might actually join the club. Is that good enough?
Yep.
It's still not going to do anything. You're still going to get dust in your paint. Now, a note about exhaust fans. A lot of times when people buy them, like, this is a fairly inexpensive exhaust fan. I had the Pache one. It, you know, because it's big. The Pache one is huge, and it was more than I really needed. And in the interim, I went into a foray of flying radio control planes, and I needed the room, so I gave it away. Stupid. But anyway, when I came back into scale models, I picked this one up. I think it's the Master Airbrush, you know, brand from Amazon. It does what it needs to do. A lot of them, you're gonna notice they'll say not rated for solvents and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an insurance adjuster. I'm not a materials engineer. I am not an expert in the field. But that said, as scale modelers, we generally do not approach the volume of spray to reach the lower explosive limit of one of these fans so that you have a fire. Take that with a grain of salt, because it's not coming from an expert, it's coming from an idiot. But based upon my experience, and you've seen me spray how much through there? You know, the one that you can get for, I think it's 200, but I think this one is like $200 now on Amazon. It's fine. Does it add dust? Dust is in the atmosphere. It depends on where you're spraying. You know, you could make a closet for yourself where you spray down with water to get the dust out of the air, and it's just one little flake of skin that comes off and flies, and that's dust. Dust is a part of the hobby. This thing has nothing to do with creating dust. It has nothing to do with it. So, you know, if you're looking to get a spray booth and stuff like that, you know, the Pache one is good. I don't even know if they still make it. You know what I say? I think you're worth it. If you got the room for it, I think you're worth it. But this one is readily available to have to get the filters, you know, and I think once maybe a week or so from now, I'm going to change the filter on this. You know, go for it. Get one. You know, people, it's going to suck dust. Yeah, okay. So it's breathing. So it's existing. Dust is, you know, it's just part of the whole thing. So, that's my bit. It's what I got to say about things. It's how I respond. Because that was one of the comments that I got on one of my videos. You know, your problem is that stupid spray booth you got. You got to get rid of that. Okay. I don't know if I'm sure most of the people, especially the ones that react positively to, you know, make positive comments on YouTube videos. Most people do not read the comments. Like, most people are going to watch this video, and if they make a comment, they're making a comment for me to see. Because one person is not necessarily going to just go, oh, let's go on to Frank's Model Works videos and read the comments under his videos, see what's going on, see what other people's opinion. Who does that? Nobody does that. So when you make a comment on a YouTube video, you're basically, the only person that gets notified of it is me. And if you reply to somebody else's comment, they might see it, but from what I've seen, sometimes people respond to other people's comments by mistake because they're talking about something totally different. So if you're commenting on YouTube videos, the only person that could see it is the person that published the video. And the best part about this medium, I'm going to do the same thing, by the way. Let me interject. 5 milliliter total, because that was enough to paint the surface around. So 2.5 milliliters of Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, which can be used with Tamiya's acrylic and lacquer paint line, and 2.5 milliliters of paint. So let me go back to what I'm saying. So when you make a comment on a YouTube video, only the content creator is going to really see it. You don't get the barn burners. This is a visual medium in the realm of social media. The same is true like on Instagram. For the most part, people comment with the intention of communicating with the content creator. Now, Facebook, on the other hand, is more of a place where people will read the comment section and reply to individual comments. So I think, and this is just my media analysis training speaking, because that's what I went to school for 30 years ago. When somebody makes a post on a YouTube video, they think it's like Facebook, where they'll get into a lively discussion with other people who are going to read their comment. And they might view the lack of response that they get from other voices as a validation. Well, I must be right. Nobody had the nerve to come after me. Meanwhile, it's 9 times out of 10, I'm the only person reading your comment. So, and this is the part that I like about YouTube, I'm not really under any obligation to appease you, to engage with you, or to validate or invalidate your statements. I could just ignore you. And that being the case, I tend to ignore comments like that because I find them to be unproductive. And what I've noticed since I started on February 18th making long form videos is that not every subscriber is a fan. Not every commenter is a subscriber. I don't keep track of who subscribes. I get an email. But not every subscriber generates an email. Some of them have privacy settings. So not every commenter is a subscriber. So while I'll try, if somebody asks me a specific question during the course of the video, like something comes up that they'd like an answer for, and they ask me, hey, could you do this? Could you do that? Or I have a question about this. I am more than happy to write you a very detailed response to your question and provide you with links to materials if possible, or even other videos from other creators, or even a video from that I might have made. But just know that when I do that, that's because you didn't raise any alarms of trollism, and that if I ignore you, it's because sometimes I can just tell you don't have the best interests of me or my channel in mind. So, it's just something to keep in mind. If I don't reply to you. And what's funny is, most of the people who I'm talking about never got to this part of the video. And it's only the diehard people who are trying to learn something or value this content, value my channel, and think I'm an okay guy that have made it this far. And that's why I'd like to say, I appreciate you. And it's also a good time to say, I got Frizzo's back. So, I try to keep things positive, but as you could tell by the gray hair, I've been around. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. And I grew up in a place and a time where you had to be very, very perceptive of people's intentions, because it would dictate whether you stayed someplace or you got out of there quick. And that carries over into the world of social media. Some people are worth having a conversation with, and others are not. So you could tell who's just trying to get a rise out of you. and who's just got a genuine concern. And there are people who are happy to make you spin your wheels. Happy to do it. Do this, do that. Why didn't you show this? Why didn't you show that? You should have showed this. You should have shown that. I show you what I show you because I believe that it's the most useful information based upon my experience and my knowledge. And I preface everything that I state with, I might not be an expert on this, so I'm just speaking about my experience. And then I demonstrate it, and I show you the result. And by showing you the result, you can make an informed decision on whether or not I'm full of baloney or not. So, there's that. That was just a little chat we had while I was mixing up the paint. So now I'm going to put the fan on. Keep forgetting. Now, just so you know, when I'm not filming, the fan just stays on. I turn it off so it's, it's easier to record. I don't have to raise my voice or whatever. No, seriously, I do. I keep it on. Seriously, I do. Okay. Let me just grab something. Hold on a second, because once I spray the gloss on, I don't want to lay these things down. Just give me 1 second, okay? Okay, this was the thing that I wanted to get so that I can put the parts in here so that they're not touching anything after they're painted. This way I don't mar the finish. I had to peel back. You see that little bright color of blue tack? Because it was a little bit on the surface of the bumper. That was dicey. So now, because I can already tell this thing's turning into a 2.5 hour barn burner, I'm going to spray the rest and speed up the film. You're going to see everything go into hyperdrive, which is the fastest you'll ever see this fat guy move. Alright? Here we go. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to be switching from the gloss black to the chrome paint. Now, this is the time where, if you're going to use the Revell chrome spray or the Gaia Notes, this is where it diverges. Either way, you're going to let this dry, cure. It does dry pretty quickly. Since most people, I think, are going to be using the Revell chrome, you just have to be careful with application. Let me turn the fan off. You just have to be careful with the application of the Revell chrome spray. It has a very, very rapid, large spray pattern, and you could dump a lot on quickly. So I would recommend, like you notice when I airbrush, I'm relatively close. I would recommend a good 1.5 foot yeah, like 18 inches, and get it, because with that, that's a way you could build it up without really influencing too much the, like, you don't want to flood it on there. It does have good self-leveling characteristics, but I'm still a fan of the Gaia Notes. I would do a video on the Revell Chrome, but there's a lot of them out. I got my hair cut yesterday. Look at how cute I look. Anyway, so now we're up to spraying the Gaia Notes Premium Mirror Chrome. Good stuff. Like I said, pricey, but good results, and it's got some legs. So what I have done, I have set this compressor, which is over here. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So up here I have my regulator knobs. I have my gauges here. It can actually power two. It can feed two airbrushes. It also has a relief valve, but I'm not going to pull that because it's really loud, and my son works nights, so it'd probably wake him up. I mean, it's really loud, so I'm not going to do that. So it's got the relief valve. It has a tank, which I drain at the end of every session. And if you have an airbrush, a compressor with a tank, what's with the hand? Put the hand down. If you have a compressor with a tank, drain it. Even if you live in a dry climate, drain it at the end of your session. Just drain it. It's better to use the electricity to fill it up again than to leave the air in there, because then if you leave the air in there, depending on, you know, like the relative humidity in your area, it could rust out the tank, and then, I mean, you're out. I don't know what to tell you. I don't even know if you could replace the tank on this. Probably not, but just empty it out, and you hit this relief valve and dump all the... I really don't want to do it. I'm gonna wake him up. Poor kid worked all night. Worked a double last night. But you pull the relief valve, and then you wait, because even though, like, it might sound like all of the air is gone, it's not. You would actually, like, I have a setup over here where these moisture traps, these inline moisture traps, they also have a little valve here. So that's how you get all of the air out of your system. And it's not good. It's good. It's not that it's not good. It's good practice to drain the air out of the system, especially if you live in a more humid climate, like the Northeast where I am. If you live in the desert, I don't know. I've never lived in the desert, so I can't tell you. But is it gonna hurt? I mean, nothing. You got an air tank. It gets pretty hot in the desert, so you know you got air under pressure in a hot place. Maybe that's a bad idea. You want to release it anyway. Okay. So anyway, as I was talking about, I've set the compressor so that I have a nominal pressure of about 15 psi, but an operating pressure of 10 psi, because this stuff it doesn't need a lot. And I'm spraying through a 0.3 millimeter GSi Creos PS 289 0.3 millimeter double action gravity feed internal mix airbrush with a MAC valve and an adjustable trigger. And that's funny to me, and it's funny to anybody that watched my airbrush video series. Shameless plug. Okay, so let me bring you up here, and I'll show you what I mean about nominal and operating pressure. Oh, careful, easy. All right, so right now, let me flip the screen around so I see what you're seeing. So right now, you'll see that this gauge, it's upside down because these things are backwards. This gauge is reading about 15 psi. So if I hit the button on the airbrush, it's going to drop down. It's going to go that way towards about 10 psi. See it? So your operating pressure is set by depressing the trigger. And then you would like move it. You'd move your, like right now, I'm increasing the pressure. Okay, so I bring that back down to about 15 and hit it. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. All right, so our operating temperature, our operating pressure is set at 10 psi. And our nominal pressure, which doesn't really relate to anything, it's just what you're gonna deal with an airbrush and a compressor is your operating pressure. So if a manufacturer says to you, and I don't even think it says on here, it's mostly in Japanese, but say for example, the manufacturer says, you know, spray at 20 psi. That's your operating pressure, and you spray at psi. Generally speaking, I would go by what the manufacturer recommends until you like that's a good starting point, and then push it. Try to get it lower. Lower pressure means more control. More control means better results. It's also in the airbrush video. Ooh, look at my hair. It looks so cute. It's starting to like actually get a little bit darker. For a while I had basically just white hair. Whatever. All right. Let's spray the chrome. I don't know what happened to me last night, but I woke up and it's like I had a nice big bowl of Gorilla biscuits. I just woke up like a schnook this morning. So we don't have to put too much of this. I don't know if you could see these. I don't want to tip it over and pour it out, but I got probably 3 or 4 cars left in here. So now that is reading about 2.3 milliliters. And that should be more than enough to paint these pieces. Pre-thinned, you don't have to thin it. It almost never, like I've never thinned it. Gaia Notes makes their own proprietary thinner. I don't like it. Like I have other Gaia Notes paint. But I used, what's it called? Unicorn Tears, the Mr. Color leveling thinner. It smells like Mr. Color leveling thinner. Doesn't act like it though. Okay, I took some gloves and I put them over here so I don't have to get up and get them. See, like right now I can joke around and be a douche because the only people watching this are like, you know, the guys who like my channel. Most of the schnooks dipped out at most 5 minutes in. So this thing's we're probably up well over an hour at this point. But who cares? I'm having a nice Sunday afternoon making the video. There's the hand again. What's with the hand? Stop with the hand. Making a video. I'll slap it together. You know, this is what, Sunday, May 19th or something like that. I'll slap it together, probably release it on the 22nd or 23rd of May. And then you can have it for the weekend. It's fun. Alright. So, we're going to test our spray pattern. Where? Off the project. Very good. And my spray pattern is fine. We got one of the wheels. Now, you know what? I'm going to use my trigger adjustment so that I just barely am spraying and getting material out. That's good. So now, let's see if you can see. Let me see if I can get it close. Starting to get a thing. There's a phenomenon known as tip dry. You see it a lot with acrylics and some lacquers, especially when you're spraying at very low PSI, where the paint will actually dry at the tip and you have to go higher in pressure in order to blow it out, or just increase your material flow. But do that off the project. You know what I mean? Like, get it spraying again. Like, what'll happen is it'll stop spraying. And it could get annoying. You don't want to clear that on your project, your subject, because you could get like a little chunk of onto the thing that you're trying to paint. All right, there we go. Now, this I'm going to keep moving. One of the things about this is, and it's a little scary, when you first spray it, it does look a little bit dull. But one of the good things about this is that it is slightly buffable. You can like burnish it to make it a little bit brighter if you really need to. And it usually dries. Like if I hose this on, it'll appear dull at first and then it'll dry to a shine. Whereas the Revell Chrome spray, that it looks shiny just from the get-go. It just, but you gotta, with the Revell Chrome spray, you gotta give that several days before you handle it. And I've said it before, try not to handle your metallic painted stuff, even if it's not chrome, even if it's your mufflers and your exhaust, your headers and stuff like that. Try not to touch it. It's the least resilient paint that we use. It's the most susceptible to handling, and you could damage it. So try not to touch it. If you're going to touch it, wear a glove. Try to use tweezers, that kind of stuff. So, let's see if you can see the difference. Hopefully the camera will pick this up. This is just painted. There's a difference in the luster. It'll show more in on like the bumpers where you have a flat surface. So we'll show you that. case you're wondering, the answer is about 12. And the question is, how many people are still watching this? So if you see this video and it has like 1,000 views, by this point in the video, there's only about 12 people left. But you know what I got to say to those 12 people? You're the best. You're the best. You want to up your game. You want to do better. You're the best. Either that or you're rage watching. You're just hoping that I say something stupid so that you could jump on it. I'm giving you plenty of opportunity, Chief. Now these wheels, and I am going to use these when I build this model. These wheels, they need a what do you call it? A wash of black in them. So here goes the speaker. Wait a minute, do you use this in the 65? Is this for the 65 or the 66? I don't remember. Well, it'll be chromed anyway. What are you going to do? James Duff is probably listening. But he might not be watching, but he's probably listening. Mr. Duff is very reliable that way. So if you're listening, Mr. Duff, thank you. I'm not going to speed up this part. I mean, if you're here, you're here. You know what I mean? You can fast forward if you want, but you know the deal. Some of my best material is done right here. So probably because I'm loopy from the fumes. And yes, I realize I didn't turn the exhaust fan on. But I'm not really putting out a boatload of material. Like if you were sitting 10 feet away, you probably couldn't smell this. It's not a lot of material going out. Like I've said, this, the Gaia Notes has it's definitely has notes of acetone and alcohol. So I would not recommend lumping this stuff on. You gotta add it in very light layers. Like if you have to do something, if you're say you're in a larger scale like 1/12 or 1/16 or something like that, and you want to do a bumper with it, light, very very light layers, as many as you can, because to get that kind of coverage over that large of a space, you're going to be using material, and you don't want to lump it on because acetone can craze. And keep in mind, I mean, I talk about this stuff being expensive, but I am spraying it on the inside of the bumpers. It's just something to do. So you might actually get more out of the bottle if you choose to buy it, if you don't spray the inside or you use something else for the inside. You could brush paint silver. I mean, who's going to look back there? It's just You know, you're always going to have that one guy who comes to the show with a mirror. He brings his own. He's not even a judge. Just brings his own mirror. Get the hell out of here. Get a slap. You laugh. I've seen it happen. I've seen people do that. It wasn't even a judge, just some guy. He wasn't doing it to cars. He was doing it to tanks. I've seen people like take a model and turn it so they could take. Wasn't even their model. Could you imagine? Oh. I mean, it's not like every model show has signs. You know, like they have signs on the table. Do not touch the models. And there was a big controversy at the IPMS Nationals or something because judges were picking up models. I'm not going to weigh in on that. I know one thing. I was at a show that was like 1 week after another show, and one of the judges, it was a model plane. It was a 1/48 scale Spitfire, and he calls me over, and he shows me. He's got like a magnifying glass, and he shows me. He goes, "There's a thumbprint." Because I had used pastels for some of the weathering on it. He goes, "There's a thumbprint." And I knew for a fact, I actually had pictures of that area of the model. There were no thumbprints. And this thing was in there as if somebody just went in and pincer grabbed it and picked it up and moved it. So there's a distinct possibility that somebody, maybe a judge at the show that was the week prior, picked the thing up, put a thumbprint in it, and the judge says, he goes, "You know, you were going to place with this," and he goes, "I can't." He goes, "You know, it's a thumbprint. It's an imperfection." I understand. What are you going to do? So I guess I just did weigh in on whether or not judge it. No, I don't think they should. You know what? Move. Contort yourself. There it is. It's a hot take. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You want to fight? I'll fight you. Ooh. Alright, this stuff flashes fast, so if you look really quick, you see it looks a little bit dull, right? It looks almost satin. Alright, so now I'm going to grab this bumper, which I did before, and you can see there's a marked difference in the luster. Now, is this super bright, extra chromy? No. It's not the toy-like appearance of what do you call it? Kit chrome. But it does, what I like about it is, I'll tell you what I like about it when I put you back over there. Alright, hold on. Okay, so, you know what you don't want to do when you're doing something like this? is drop all the pieces, because that's exactly what I did on the way over from the paint booth. This is actually a couple of hours later. The front bumper took some damage here, over here, and right there at the peak. And the rear bumper did not fare much better. So I have spent some time trying to fix it. But I have arrived at a conclusion. And it's actually not a bad thing. It's almost like a happy accident. I have arrived at the conclusion that Revell Chrome spray, for the purposes of bumpers, is just better. And for chrome wheels, it's just better. So this is the bumper from the 1971 Mustang Mach 1 that I'm building. Let's see if I can get that to glint. That is objectively better at replicating a chrome finish, like a real metallic chrome finish, than both the kit chrome and my previous method using the Gaia Notes. So, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do because I've used this method of the Gaia Notes for several years, and I'm used to it. But I mean, I guess it essentially became my world view on the matter would be to use Gaia Notes, but provided with the new information and the side-by-side comparison, I went into making this video fully expecting this bumper and grille to come out looking like this bumper. And that's just simply not the case. So I'm going to change my practices from now on. And when it calls for like a bumper, or yeah, even better, here's the wheel from before, for the 71 Mach 1. When you put it next to the wheel from the 66, this right here, the wheel from the Mustang, is demonstrably, like objectively, more chrome-like, more reflective, more brilliant, more luster, and a deeper finish than this, which was for the one that I just did. Now, if you remember during my chroming video on photo etch, I had done one of the sheets, and it's been several days, and there's still crazing in here, in the areas that I had pointed out during that video. Some of the stuff on here is going to be, and this was done with Revell Chrome. So I think in the situation here, and I had said this in the photo etch chroming video, I think what happened here is that the volume of material that comes out of the Revell Chrome spray can hitting this, I think it might have reacted with the metallic primer that I used to get the photo etch ready. And I think that's what's at play here. I gotta be honest with you, this looks like, I think that's the case. I don't think I can improve on this. So, going forward, based on the results that I got, you get to witness in real time me changing my mind. From now on, whenever I'm going to chrome wheels and bumpers and door handles and you know, if there's separate chrome trim that needs to be stripped and re-chromed, I'm going to use the Revell spray. And then when it comes to chroming photo etch, I'm still going to use the Gaia Notes, because I think at best, I can't go by this because this got damaged, but these came out as well as, wow, you see how that's shining? Really, Revell, you don't have to rub it in my face like that. But I think this came out as well as the Gaia Notes normally would. And I don't think any amount of, like, even if I resprayed these, which I still could do with the Gaia Notes, I don't think it's going to come out as good or as well, which would be proper English, as the Revell Chrome Spray did. But I do stick by the process of priming. I stick by the process of stripping chrome, preparing the parts, and priming them, and then using a product with demonstrated results. So that was good. So let me put you back up on the tripod, and we'll talk about what we learned today, and that'll be that. Well, that was surprising. I didn't expect that to be the case, but here we are. We've got a product. Thankfully, I have the product now. Gonna have to buy more of it, because I am still gonna strip the chrome on all of my model cars and refinish them. It's just now, for the lion's share of the work that needs to be done, I'm gonna be using the Revell Chrome Spray. I'm still gonna use the Gaia Notes Special Mirror Chrome, whatever it's called, for the photo etch, because as I explained in that video, it's the way that I can best replicate scripts and trim, like trim pieces, little tiny pieces on a model car. I'm getting old, can't see as well, my hands don't work that well, so that's what I need to do. But this is good. I hope we can have experiences like this in the future, where we find out something new. New information doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You know, sometimes you gotta challenge your worldview. I don't think this guy is gonna do it. Rust-Oleum! It's the best. You just use Rust-Oleum. You don't need anything else. I never had a problem. That guy didn't make it this far in the video, but if you did, I appreciate you joining me for this ride. It was a long one. It was another barn burner, but I think we broke some solid ground, and we're well on our way to improving our builds. So, I use those SAT words, verisimilitude and catharsis. They're actually what informs my experience with the hobby. I'm trying to reach verisimilitude, and in so doing, I find my catharsis. I can't understand why I got beat up so much as a kid. So anyway, as always, I got Frizzo's back. I appreciate your support. I thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, let me know. Be very impressed. And until we speak again, take care of yourselves. Be well.